a man who you may know by his face, but mostly by his voice and strings. This is the grand old Duke of Blues, Duke Robillard. So,
That's
Duke,
me.
I I understand that you released a well, brand new in the sense that it was technically forgotten because you were so pressed gigging, doing tours, and being a man of blues going here and there. It was a Stony Plains record that was done in 2005, and you finally came out to finish it and get it released. And it was called Forgotten. I have it right here. It was called Roll with Me.
Yes, that's what it's called.
So I understand that in this particular album, compared to your others, you decided to actually pay homage to a lot of great blues cats that were prior to all of us listening to the blues.
Yeah, a lot of people that I've either played with or were influences on me, and just a lot of songs that I love. So it was kind of going back to the beginning for me in a way.
Hmm.
And we cut 9 tracks initially, and it got put on the shelf for a while because of other projects I was working on. But finally, I got around to finishing the last 3 tunes that we had to finish to get it released. So it took an awful almost 20 years.
Regardless of that, I've been listening to it non-stop for the last 24 hours and 40, if not almost 2 days, because a lot of the music is actually, well, first off, I have to say with no unabashed passion about how great of a blues man you are. You even go out of blues to go into jazz in some of the albums that you actually created, and you've got a huge discography.
I do. I have 37 under my own name, and God knows how many others that I'm on as a sideman or guest.
So, when you started this project, did you have a particular vision in regards to setting something down and canning it and then getting back to it once you had some time?
Well, the idea was that I was going to kind of go back to my initial roots with horns and kind of similar to the sound and material that I did back when I was in leading Roomful of Blues
Okay.
uh, many years before. And in fact, some of the tunes that we recorded were tunes of mine that or songs I did in Roomful of Blues. One being actually one side of the first single that we ever recorded. So I was
Okay.
kind of going back to the beginning.
That's great. Now, I understand that you left on very good terms with Roomful of Blues. Was there any particular impetus that actually had you um, wanting to go on your own?
Well, it's not musically, there was no reason for it, but it was more like a business type of situation. And it was just time for me to leave because things change, personalities and things, are looked at differently. We started out as a bunch of kids, really, just barely out of our teens. And by the time I got to a dozen years with the band, it became evident that we had some different ideas and so not so much musically but kind of business ideas. So it seemed like an appropriate time when Robert Gordon asked me to join his band. It was kind of I just went right to that job from there. So
Okay, so you decided that now's the good time to actually go on a different path, musically, not musically speaking, but more personally speaking.
yes,
Um,
I knew that working with Robert was not going to be a long term thing, but it just seemed like it made it easy for me to make the change because he offered me a job, and it was a good job. So
the one thing that I always forget is that music is more than just a passion. For many, it's an actual job. It's it's like Ray Charles said, it's business. So you get down to business with your own stylings and your own character and your own baggage to actually make it happen around you. Uh, Now, the album was released very recently. So, speaking of this year, how, how are you actually going to be touring for this particular album?
we will be doing a lot of dates, and they will be to. We've already been out to Eureka, California, playing the Redwood Coast Music Festival. We've just played out there for several days, for 4 days, and we will be traveling a lot during the through next year, and
Yeah.
in support of this record.
Okay, and you're now you've been doing this for way, way longer than I can actually fathom. You probably 60 years, if not more.
Just about that, yeah. Let's see. I I started working with Roomful with the horn section at the band that people know as Roomful of Blues in 1971. So
Okay.
I've been doing it like nonstop since about 71.
So I know that your major instrument is guitar. Do you have any others that you actually perform with?
No, I don't. I don't. I was obsessed with the guitar when I was 6 years old, and it's kept me interested in music and occupied for all this time.
When you compose your own original tunes, I'm assuming that it's only on guitar. You don't use a piano.
Not myself, no. No,
Okay.
it's on guitar because that's, what I do.
Out of all the guitars that you've probably owned or currently own, is there one particular brand or make or model that you enjoy using almost every single time?
Well, I can't say one because I kind of go back and forth between different instruments. And I've always found that inspiring. They bring out different things in my playing. And, I just am so used to playing so many different guitars that
Oh,
there's not really one,
okay, then let's put it
not
this
even a
way.
brand or
Not even a brand. Well, let in your rack when you set up your show. How many guitars are standing in the rack?
two or three.
Two or three? Out
There's
of
been
those,
times that there've been many more, but as I get older, I realize I don't need to have all those instruments on stage, and it's a pain to tune them and keep. It's easier for the show to flow slower to just have two or three.
okay. No, the the album is getting great reviews, and I'm happy for that, and I'm happy for you. It shows your penultimate character during then, but if we go back and we travel through the discography that you actually own, it's amazing that you've grown. How can I put it? I don't want to sound um, I don't want to sound as if I'm putting you down because that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just that you've kept going at a steady pace without losing quality, and it's been amazing to actually see you because I started learning about you musically in
Hmm.
the 1990s.
Okay.
That's where I started learning more about people that were around you by diving into the rabbit hole and seeing all the albums that you decided to make and to actually provide so that you could actually grow musically and personally with this talent of yours. Then you went to jazz and you sent my head spinning. But you do it so. I don't want to say delicately because you're not a hard rocker, but you're damn close. But the jazz is almost as if it's your second skin.
Well, I learned early uh, that blues and the old style of jazz, like swing style of jazz, are very connected. In fact, a lot of the big bands and the swing era players, a lot of the music they played was blues in form. So I saw the connection when I was quite young, and it fascinated me because it was a different way to say the same thing, a different inflection, a different tone, and I love all the different things that you can do with the blues, from acoustic music to country blues to Chicago blues to urban jump blues to swing and jazz. It's just to me, it's a never-ending stream of styles of music that you can apply to the blues.
Okay. Now, that's pretty much all the questions I have for the album. But for your personal side, because you're a musician, but you're also a man. Do you have any particular hobbies that you partake of other than deep diving into music constantly?
Um, yes, photography and painting are two things that I really love.
Oh, really? So I'm happy for that because I can't paint a lick and my camera shots are bad. And now, with that, I know that throughout your career, um, you had a lot of backing from the people that enjoyed having you in their lives. Possibly your wife,
Oh, absolutely.
and possibly your kids if you have any, and definitely the fans. So I'm going to ask you this last question because you've given everything that I needed in regards to your new album, and we can't wait to see the roster that you're going to give in regards to tour dates. But before I forget, folks, please support Duke. You can visit his website. You can buy merch. You can buy his albums. You can find the albums pretty much everywhere nowadays with streaming
Yeah.
services. But if you want to support Duke directly, the best way to do it is buying either vinyl or buying a CD.
Or coming out to shows or both.
That would be good. Are you planning on coming to Canada during your tour this time around? I'm assuming
we
not.
we don't have it would be next year,
Okay.
obviously, and we definitely do, because it's been quite a while since I've been up to Canada, and we certainly do. So we'll be looking into it, especially for festivals next summer. But I would love to come back up to the club scene. But things get a little bit hard these days. It's not like it used to be, where you could play almost every night. Now it
Mm,
seems most of the action seems to be on the weekends, which makes it tough to travel long distances.
true. You might want to take a look at my province, which is in New Brunswick, we're far out east,
Oh
past
yeah.
Quebec. There's a lot of new festivals that are actually happening, and there's some in Nova Scotia as well. So, uh, that said, I'm gonna cross my fingers that I get to see you live.
All right. I hope so.
So the last question of the evening is simply this: what's your favorite food dish?
My favorite food dish. Ooh. Well, I would say that Italian or Mexican food are probably my two favorite things. Particular dish, just anything in those types of food usually is what I love the best.
Well, I'm glad that you do, and thank you so much for taking the time to come to this interview. Um,
I'm glad we finally got it to work and happen.
so I'll just turn it off right here and